We are honored to welcome Nancy Farias, Director of California Employment Development Department. Nancy led EDD through some of the most challenging times in our state's history, including record unemployment, unprecedented fraud prevention.
Okay, stop.
I haven't even begun, Nancy. This is just the beginning of all your accomplishment. Well, under your leadership, EDD is undergoing a major transformation to become people-centered agency. She is spearheaded EDD Next, a modernization initiative focused on updating policies, procedures, and IT infrastructure, just what Nick talked about. Nancy created the Customer Experience Division and launched MyEDD, a secure, user-friendly portal for accessing benefits. She's a passionate advocate for working families and extensive experience in government relations and law. Nancy earned her JD from Suffolk University Law School and is licensed to practice in Massachusetts and before the U.S. Supreme Court. So please welcome Director Nancy Farias. Nancy, the floor is yours. You're the second lawyer today in our session.
Well, that's disappointing for you guys. I'm sorry about that. Don't tell anybody. So hi everybody. Thanks for inviting me, first of all. Bobby, it's nice to see you again. Nice to see everybody again. Happy holidays. I listened to a little bit of what Secretary Maduris was saying, so I do have some prepared remarks that are very quick, or I can just jump right into questions, or I am going to leave this up to you guys. If you want me to talk about something specific, I'm happy to do that. Is there a preference, Bobby?
So typically just what we mentioned, Nick, earlier. Why don't you go ahead and do your prepared statement, and then we'll open it up for Q&A if that's okay with you.
Yeah, okay, that's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to just read a little bit and wing it a little bit. So, of course, I already said good morning and thank you. Thank you for the work that you do to hold the state and especially EDD accountable. We really do appreciate it. Just like the way Nick closed was perfect, because I specifically appreciate when people bring concerns to me, because once I know about an issue, I like to be able to fix it if we can, right? So that's all to say that, you guys have been essential partners, especially pushing EDD to be better. We appreciate it. You've challenged us. You've called out the gaps. You've insisted that access delayed is access denied. And we are living by that mantra through EDD Next. We are acting on it. As I think you guys know, as Bobby mentioned, we serve Californians at some of the most vulnerable moments in their lives. People with disabilities need unemployment, looking for a job, or have to pay some taxes, which isn't, we don't like to talk about that part. But, especially for people with disabilities, and I think you guys all know that I have some experience with that with my mom. But, so for people with disabilities, it really comes with extra barriers trying to do something with the state, right? Complex systems, inaccessible technology, language challenges, policies that were really not designed with disability in mind, right? And so when those barriers exist, they are not just inconveniences to people, they are exclusionary for people, right? And that's why when we talk about equity and inclusion for people with disabilities, it's not optional at EDD. It is fundamental. It is mandatory. And as Bobby mentioned, we are going through a modernization, EDD Next, and it is often framed as technology, right? But the way that, and Bobby did mention this, and the way that I talk about it in the legislature, it's not just about technology for EDD. It's an access story, right? We're redesigning the systems to ensure disability, unemployment, paid family leave access is built from the start, not retrofitted later to then include people who cannot access that. That is not what we're looking to do. We're looking to start it from the beginning we want to do it the right way. That of course includes digital accessibility, alternative service channels, ensuring reasonable accommodations are consistent, timely, and transparent. And that's like what we're doing at EDD for the outside world, right? For the public facing services. But truly, inclusion also needs to be reflected inside of our own agency, right? We have about almost 10,000 employees at EDD, and we do have a responsibility to model disability inclusion in hiring, retention, accommodations, leadership development, all of the things that you're advocating for. And because a system that's not accessible to its own workforce, we can't then fully serve the public, right? I mean, that sort of goes hand in hand. And so just on that note, and just to close up, looking ahead, our vision really is through EDD Next to create a people-centered EDD that includes our own staff, one that treats disability not as a limitation to be managed, but as a dimension of human diversity to be respected and supported. And I think that that's a really important point to make. Continued collaboration with advocates, of course, not just, as Nick said, talking and talking and talking and not doing anything. And I've always lived by the mantra that once I find out about a problem, I want to fix it if I can, of course, within reason, because as I'm sure Nick has mentioned, I know at the end he mentioned a little bit, money is a little bit tight these days in state government, but I do, and everyone in the leadership at EDD appreciates all of your concerns, the challenges that you have. We haven't fixed all of them. I'm certain of that. But, through our partnership, I think that we can continue to chip away at a lot of those things. And, your advocacy makes the state stronger. It really does. It's not just at EDD. It is throughout all the state agencies. So I appreciate that you have held EDD accountable, that you're meeting with Nick. People, he's obviously oversees we used to call it when I was at GovOps, the junk drawer of departments, because they do vast things, but they really do affect all state employees and the public. And so with that, I am happy to take any questions that you have or
Great.
expand on anything.
Thank you, Nancy. We really appreciate that presentation. That gives us a little bit of a backdrop of what's going on with EDD. We have somebody with hands up, and the way we do this, we'll ask you a question. We'll alternate between chat and raised hand, and
Sure.
and then I'll inject our questions in between when we have time. So we'll go with Nina. You have your hand up. Unmute and ask your question, please.
Yes. Hi, Nancy. Thank you for all you're doing with EDD. And hello, Bobby and Alex. Big fan always of you too.
Thank you.
Nancy, my daughter and I were having a conversation because she is struggling to find a job. And she was like, why don't these job boards have like blue check? And I was thinking, why doesn't the EDD have like some kind of blue check that they can post on a job posting that's saying this is EDD verified and this is a real job? Because there's so many scammers out there with fake jobs. And like if a person were to post their job listing with the EDD, and then the EDD could say, okay, this is a legitimate job. Here's your blue check that you could use on LinkedIn and Indeed. It's a EDD verified job. Is that something that the EDD can possibly do, or even like say that this is a verified disabled person job or something like that? So is that something that's in the EDD scope of abilities?
Well, I guess just a clarification. Are you talking about EDD jobs at EDD for the state, or are you talking about through our workforce services branch, our Cal job system? Because we only post online state jobs, right? EDD jobs. We don't post jobs we have a Cal jobs system that when you apply for UI, you have to register for Cal Jobs, and they do have lists of different jobs. So just maybe a little clarification
Oh,
on
I'm thinking like if they could go through a process of submitting their job posting through the EDD, pay a fee, and that job could be verified by the EDD as a legitimate job. They're allowed to post the blue check, the blue EDD check saying this is a verified EDD job. And that way they could take that over to LinkedIn and Indeed. And that way, because that would help a lot of people with the scammers and also with jobs that possibly are disabled, good for disabled people.
So we actually don't post jobs on our website. So we don't have jobs on our website except for any open positions that are at EDD, the department. And it would be the same as what's on CalHR's website. As far as Cal Jobs, if you are unemployed and receiving unemployment insurance, there is I don't know if the blue check is actually a thing. So I'm sorry if I don't know what that
It's
is in it.
not a
It might
thing.
be.
It's an
Okay.
idea
It might be.
that I said that this would be like a verification. You know how people have their social media accounts can be verified by the social media. If the job were verified by EDD for a fee, and then that
Mhm.
poster can take it to
Mhm.
LinkedIn and then to take it to and post it on Indeed saying we have been EDD
Mhm.
verified.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's not something that we would do because, again, we don't have
Yeah.
it on our website. We have it through Cal Jobs.
Mhm.
The Cal Jobs system, we do work with employers, so we know, we talk to employers all the time to get the open job posting. Now, that doesn't mean that someone can't put a job on in Cal Jobs that is if they're smart enough they can scam it, but we do check that they are legit jobs. I think sometimes, if you go to a link that, yeah, see Facebook ads that promise to get you a state job, EDD has no that's we have no purview over that. If someone posts something, that's not something that EDD has oversight over. In Cal Jobs, we do, obviously, because it's our system, and we do due diligence to make sure that they are legit jobs. But occasionally, or like this, like for example, if someone posts on Facebook and there's a link that has nothing to do with EDD or Cal Jobs or Workforce Services, um, that's not something that we can control. I mean, we have worked with like Google and other search engines that when you type in, for example, unemployment insurance, the first thing that comes up should be the legitimate EDD website, right? And it was not. We saw actually somebody, the first thing was a scam. And so we work with Google to get that taken down. So, I mean, it's really a, situation by situation basis, I guess, that we have, that when we notice these things, we try to address them.
Great. Thank you. Good question. Good idea to advance, but this is not something that EDD is doing right now. But it's a good thing that you brought this awareness. I'm going to move on to the next person that asked has got his hands up. Veronica, please unmute. Ask your question.
Bobby and Alex. It's not actually a question. I am the current DAC chair for EDD, and I just wanted to say on behalf of myself and all of our DAC, how much we appreciate, Nancy, your continued support of us and your continued participation. Nancy has come to, since I've been involved in the DAC, since she has started, it's been 3 meetings. One of them, she spent almost an hour talking to us, and
Mhm.
she is the, I believe, fourth director I've been in the DAC under. And that one meeting of 1 hour was more FaceTime with the director I've seen in the DAC than the other ones combined. So, on behalf of the DAC, we appreciate your continued support so much. It makes it easier for us to do our jobs and keep things moving forward for the employees with disabilities. So, just thank you so much on behalf of the DAC.
Oh, well, thank you. If you could just let my husband know that you're okay with talking for an hour, because he just let him know that that's okay. That's cool.
No,
Oh no, I
that's
love that because then I don't have to talk for 4 hours straight in the meeting.
no, that's wonderful, and that's really speaks volume to your leadership, Nancy. Because we at SDAC, that's one of the things that we do. We try to provide resources for all the DACs statewide. One of the common complaints we get is how little that they have interaction with the director or the leadership or the head of the agency, that the government code mandates that they must have that communication. State Personnel Board have a question in their audit form. How often did you meet with the director? So on. So we get a lot of issues relating to that. So it's really encouraging, and it speaks volume to your leadership that you spend that long and that much of time talking about disability awareness. So that means something to you. And so we are grateful for that kind of engagement and leadership. Thank you for showcasing
Thank you.
that, Veronica.
Thank you. That's very nice.
The question I have for you, and again, I'll open it up for anyone else on the chat and raise your hand, is can you share more about the impact of the EDD Next on service delivery? In other words, how is EDD addressing accessibility for individuals with disabilities in modernization effort?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of what our focus is right now is on language access. That's understanding that's not a disability, but that is where we are. We are so. You tell me if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but we sort of don't parcel out those with disabilities versus those who have language access issues, or, those who might not have access issues, meaning for language or computers, or, we are trying to make it a holistic system where everyone has access, and whatever access means. So if you can't type, or whatever, we have paper, we have phone, we have people on the phones who can assist with like filling out an application if that's what's required. If you have a barrier somehow and can't get to the office or whatever it is, if you're doing, depending on which program you're going through, we are doing all of that holistically, is what our approach has been. I think that, we and you guys, you talked about this a little bit, I think, with Nick about maybe, or maybe I just read too many articles this morning about AI. Now I can't remember, but about technology, right? And the modernization, people think of it as technology, and while it is a big piece of it is technology, of course, but the technology is only as good as the people that know how to use it, so, and if we still have these old policies and procedures, then technology isn't going to help that at all. I mean, I'm a little bit diverging here, but like we had a policy pre-pandemic that if you had 15 letters in your last name, you were manually picked out for fraud. I mean, that makes no sense at all, right? So technology isn't going to help that. There can be the best technology in the world. You can press a button, fill it all out. But if your last name still has 15 letters in it, then so we're like focusing on things like that. And I am less about the technology. I have a whole IT department that is great. They're doing a great job. Fabulous. Love it. I'm focused on the policies and the procedures and the processes that we use. And so, that's where I think we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck, is changing some of those things. And I know that it's scary for a lot of people because we've done things a certain way for a long period of time. But, in the staff that I've, right, yeah, exactly. Your name would get tossed out for sure. Yes. But in the staff that I've talked to about this, I mean, I think they're ready for this, right? I think that they want to do this because that's what their job is to help people, So, and it's to help everyone. It's to help everyone. It's not just like, oh, this one's easy, so we'll take this. I mean, it's really to help everybody. So, I think over the next year, 2, 3 years, which I may not be here, but we'll see. But I think you'll see a lot of ease of access for everybody to get UI benefits, DI benefits, and that includes the staff. I mean, we're trying to make it easier on the staff to also like so they don't have to pull these things manually and have to read it, manually and type it into another system over here, and there's a green screen and DOS and all these nonsense words that I don't even know what they mean, that it was like 30 years ago that we dealt with that, so we're doing a lot of good things. I mean, but it's slow.
Thank you for answering that question. Do we have any other question for Nancy Farias?
Sure, just a general question, and maybe it was touched upon in some sense. So, with regards to AI, I'm just wondering because various states or the agencies are putting AI into their web pages in some manner. Is EDD doing some sort of integration to help end users, whether it's employees or the public trying to use the website?
So we haven't really used AI yet, and I think blend about some of the pilots, and maybe that's not what he was talking about, because again, I think I've read like 15. I'm the only person that can wake up at 4 a.m. and not make a 9:30 meeting on time. I'm like, I read the newspaper, I read all these things. But anyway, we haven't really delved into the AI. I mean, we use it with some of our vendors as far as our fraud detection, with ID Me and Secure, that's AI to some extent. But I mean, that is going to be part of what we do. I mean, we do have like a chat bot. We have a live chat, and we do have a chat bot, which isn't AI because all it does is gather information from like the website basically and put it in a response. It's kind of like Ask Jeeves, if you remember Ask Jeeves from like 20 years ago. So I'm like, well, we're a little behind the times there, but but it is helpful for people to be able to go into my EDD and then just ask a question, and we just pull it from their own file, so it's not really AI. But I will be 100% honest. I do see a world where AI is super important in what we do. And, I know that everyone, not just state employees, everyone is afraid, especially of Gen AI and people take, robots taking people's jobs and things like that. And that's not, I mean, you guys have probably all collectively worked in state government for 1,000 years, and the state government doesn't move that fast, right? And that's not, there are also lots of rules and statutes and laws that dictate what you can and can't do. Like for us, like we can never have a robot or someone besides a state employee make a final determination on UI. So there's really no fear of that. I mean, what we want to use it for is to help the staff, right? So I think Nick mentioned it. You can put whatever he said, something about accounting, because he's in a different world than I am. But you can put all these receipts into Poppy, and you can get out something that is way easier than having to manually log all this in, right? And that's just better for employees, and I appreciate that some people they like to type it in. I get that, and it is a learning curve. My mom had to deal with that when she worked in a factory, and they were getting rid of the factory, and they wanted to train her on other things. This was many years ago, many, many years ago, probably 30 years ago, if more than that, 35 years ago. And she just wasn't into it. She just wasn't, she didn't feel comfortable. It was like accounting kind of stuff that they wanted her to do, and she just didn't feel comfortable doing that. And so she ended up leaving, and not working, which was like, but that's like a real thing. That's real, and that's, how, especially because she was older, not as old as she is now, but she was probably my age, which I don't like to think of as older. But I just turned 53, so I'm getting up there, you know what I mean? So she was probably about my age, and she just didn't want to, like, learn a new trick, so to speak. And I appreciate that. And those are issues that we have to address statewide. There's no question, and especially at EDD. But, we want it to be easier for everybody, our claimants, all of our customers, which we also include our staff as a customer, because they are the customer of what the system that we are using. They are the customer, and they need to tell us how to make it better, because I don't know. I've never used it in my life. So how do I know? You know what I mean? I mean, that's what I tell the legislature all the time. Don't thank me. Thank the staff that answered the phones. I'm like, I didn't do anything.
Mm.
So
Your leadership is what counts here, Nancy. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right. That's all the question we have. You did mention, you may or may not be here in a couple of years. Are you running for a higher office like the
well, I'm
governor's
running for governor.
position?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yes,
running
that's
for.
what I
Me and
thought
everybody else.
too.
No, 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 no. When there's a new governor, they obviously have the prerogative
Yeah,
to
yeah,
put a
yeah,
new
yeah.
director. And I'm not sure there's a lot of people banging down the doors for this job, but we'll see. So
Well,
I've enjoyed it. I really have. So
it's going to be hard to replace your talent for what you have done for EDDs and the state.
well,
So,
thank you, Bobby, but that's too kind.
well, thank you very much for coming here and presenting. And please come back and join us anytime in future. If we always enjoy your presentation. And thanks again, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. Thank you so much. You know how to get in touch with me if you need anything. Everybody can just email me or whatever. I'm sure everybody has my email.
Great. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Bye,
Bye
everybody.
bye.
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.